A few things before I invite Gary up here. It is my tradition on this Sunday to do a State of the Church sermon. I'm not, because my State of the Church sermon would mostly talk about the Good Futures team, so I figured I might as well let Gary talk about the Good Futures team. But a year ago, when I did give my State of the Church sermon, I said two things. One is that the church had continued to be faithful, and we have continued to be faithful. The other was that I challenged the congregation to address what I call the elephant in the room. The reality of increased costs, declining offerings, dwindling savings, at that time a roof that needed replaced, age, sickness, grief over what we've lost, fear for what may come. And I'd like to say that the elephant is still in the room. If you look at that green colored piece of paper, especially the financials, you will learn that the ink is redder than the Red Sea. But your leadership has been working really, really hard to define the element, pace the element, and begin laying plans for dealing with the elephant. Much of that work has been carried out by the Good Futures team, so that's why I'm turning this over to Gary in a minute. The other has been conversations over the very real fact that this congregation is no longer a full-size pastorate congregation. And basically, the $70,000 a year that it costs for me to stand up in front of you is a major stretch on the budget. That's facts. So we've been in conversations about how to deal with that. Those conversations are ongoing. They're not at a point where I can tell you what they are. So let me just tell you a few things. There are no plans for me to leave. Although if you want me to leave, now is the time to talk to your elders. Because they are working very hard to make it possible for me not to leave. There are no plans to sell the building. There's no plans to shut the church down. Although I will say, if someone walked up and offered us $5 million for the building, we would talk to them. But there are no plans. We are not lessening our commitment to ministry. We're not lessening our commitment to the community. Instead, we're actually, and you're going to hear from Gary, we're looking at how to increase that commitment to the community, increase that commitment to ministry. And we're going to remain anchored to the gospel, to our heritage, to who we are as a congregation. That we're going to remain anchored to our core values. We're not going to pull something out of a hat that's not who we are, that we think may somehow save us. That wouldn't work in. And there's been two scriptures I want to share with you that have been guiding me through this process. I've shared them with the Good Futures team. I've shared them with the session. They may be tired of them by this point. The first is a classic memory verse. It may be familiar with you. It's from Jeremiah chapter 19. That would be Jeremiah 29. I always do that. And Jeremiah is speaking to the people of Israel. For surely I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for your welfare, and not for harm, to give you a future with hope. Then when you call upon me and come and pray to me, I will hear you. When you search for me, you will find me. If you seek me with all your heart, I will let you find me, says the Lord. Jeremiah Jeremiah wrote these to the people of Israel, the Jewish people, when they were in exile in Babylon, and they could not see a future. God prepares for us a future with hope. We may not be able to see it. The journey might be long. Hope always remains. We serve a God who does not let anything be lost or go to waste, and brings life out of death. Gary will tell you, as the Good Futures team has looked and talked and struggled, as the sessions talked and struggled, God isn't done with us yet. God is not done with us yet. The second comes from the book of Acts. And this verse is a moment in Paul's ministry where he is literally running around in circles. He is lost. He does not know where to go or what to do. He's absolutely stunned. There's going to be a bunch of place names here. Just rest assured, all these place names initially are in Turkey, and then the second set are in Greece. And your little geography lesson, there's a big chunk of water between the two. Paul is from Turkey. He's never been to Greece. So they were going to the region of Phrygia and Galatia, having been forbidden by the Holy Spirit to speak the word in Asia, which is Paul speak for Turkey. When they had come opposite Messina, they attempted to go into Bithynia, but the Spirit of Jesus did not allow them. So passing by Messina, they went down to Troas. So they're walking in circles. That's what all that just said. They're just walking in circles, doing nothing. During the night, Paul had a vision. There stood a man of Macedonia. Macedonia is northern Greece, although the Macedonians would not say that. But that's your geography lesson. Macedonia is in Greece. There stood a man of Macedonia pleading with him and saying, "Come over to Macedonia and help us." When he had seen the vision, we immediately tried to cross over to Macedonia, being convinced that God had called us to proclaim the good news to them. We set sail from Troas and took a straight course to Samothrace, then followed the way to Neapolis, and then to Philippi, which is a leading city in the district of Macedonia and a Roman colony. So basically, they crossed the sea and went into Greece. We remained in this city for some days. On the Sabbath day, we went outside the gates by the river, where we supposed there was a place of prayer. And we sat down and spoke to the women who had gathered there. A certain woman named Lydia, a worshiper of God, was listening to us. She was from the city of Syria and a dealer in purple cloth. The Lord opened her heart to listen eagerly to what was said by Paul. When she and her household were baptized, she urged us, saying, "If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come and stay at my home." Lydia is one of the most important people in the life of Paul. She herself becomes a preacher, a teacher, a leader of churches. She is also rather wealthy, so she funds Paul. And meeting Lydia opens everything up for the rest of Paul's ministry. So he goes from the familiar, he's from Turkey, he knew the people, he knew the language, he knew the culture, but he's running in circles. Only when he went to where it was unfamiliar, among people he didn't know, was the door open for him to continue ministry and find the solution. For the last few years, we've been moving out of our comfort zone and interacting with people we never expected to meet. Unbeknownst to us, we have been building the foundation needed for the change to come, because there will be a lot of change in the year ahead. We're discerning new plans. We're confident Lydia waits. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Gary. And I want to say a huge thank you the entire Good Futures team, Angie, Doris, Judy Wilms, Dave Detweiler, Dave Six, and Gary. And Gary's gonna thank you for all your help that you've committed, but I wanna reiterate that you guys stayed to play games, to have discussions, to talk, and you're gonna end up staying late today too, but there's food after. So, thank you. Thank you very much for that. And Gary? Music stands all yours.
I do have to thank a lot of people, but first of all, I want to thank my wife Jean, because for the past year, she's been hearing Good Futures. I've been talking with her about ideas and plans, progress. And for the past 3 weeks, I've been trying to prepare this report. And she's probably sitting there thinking, thank goodness today's here. Because I've typed it, she's read it, I retyped it, she's reread it. Last night she said, just do it. Just get up here. So here we go. About a year ago, Fritz suggested that the session should consider the Good Futures Accelerator Program, and they agreed to purchase it. I'd like to thank Fritz and the session for their vision for our future. I'd also like to thank the congregation for your prayers of support, your help with the survey questions, your participation in the I Spy game and the Mission Possible game. The Good Futures team valued and appreciated all of your comments regarding the Columbiana area. For example, you mentioned that this area is considered a friendly, safe place to live, but it also offers many challenges as it continues to grow. Also, you felt that the area is generational. You acknowledged the growing senior population, but also shared that the high school graduating generation go off to college and few return because of the limited opportunities available in the area. Another comment was about the limited activities available for the area youth that do not participate in school activities. These comments played a major role in the conversations the Good Future team shared. A huge thank you to Angie, Judy, Dave, Doris, and Dave for serving on the Good Futures team. The many hours they spent in preparing and participating in the 7 meeting sessions are invaluable and greatly appreciated. This team devoted a lot of time as they worked their way through the visioning process. This included reading and researching workbooks prior to the meetings, reaching out and interviewing community leaders, watching video presentations from the Rooted Good team, processing the information from the workbook, and many hours of discussion as we formulated our ideas. Initially, I felt we were a bit skeptical because of the bigness of some of the social enterprise examples that were in the workbook. But as we moved through the process, we began to realize this church is already participating in social enterprises. It started small, but we were beginning to gain knowledge of our potential. With the established seniors programs, GLOW, and the growth of Indigo Improv, we understood that we have a foundation and examples of how we can find additional ways of using our building. Trying to devise an idea, and this is what phase 1 is all about. Envisioning an idea for social enterprise was quite an endeavor, but we have formulated a vision. This isn't a plan to save the church, it's a vision to help sustain our ministry. Our conversations help to understand some of the many challenges we face as a congregation. The most important challenge for every one of us is having a compassionate and empathetic understanding of the history of this church and how our church families have impacted our lives, while also realizing the changing dynamics not only of our membership, but also the growth and significant changes that we see occurring in this area. The team is fully aware of the largest portion of our annual budget is the funding of our staff, while another major portion is the expense of an aging building. We need church staff, and the condition of the building is just what it is. However, Instead of looking at the building as a liability, we began to appreciate that this building is a major asset. We did an extensive walkthrough and survey of the building, and we began to develop a vision of how we could fully utilize the entire building. From classrooms, fellowship hall, the sanctuary, and other areas, we discussed ideas on how we could begin to repurpose areas of the building to better utilize the space on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to only a few days a month. We agreed that all of us need to ask ourselves this serious question. Instead of looking at building use as only a few nights a week, or once a month for various events, and for only an hour and a half on Sunday morning, what is preventing us from cooperating with individuals or groups who could utilize the building during the morning and afternoon, and then others that could use the rooms during the evening? But most of all, not to allow their use to interfere when we need to use the building. These are just a few of the challenges the Good Futures team discussed. Other major concerns that were discussed about developing a social enterprise were startup costs, operating costs, staffing, scheduling, and others. We also researched who will our clients or customers be, and are there agencies in place to help offer guidance and assistance. Because we are a small congregation, we all agreed we could not staff a building on our own. We asked each other a lot of questions, and there will be more. But the questions that kept coming back to us: what will happen if we do nothing? What if we just stay the course? What if we choose not to adapt to the change? Then what happens? As we moved through the process, we came to fully understand that this project is not going to be only a First Presbyterian Church Columbiana program. It will require outside guidance, outside financing, outside partners, and reaching outside the walls of this church for help from our entire community. But most importantly, it will require substantial inside our walls support, much like the support we have experienced in the past. Remember when we visioned together and planned and then realized events like Swiss steak dinners, concerts under the dome, youth club, senior citizen lunches, trash and treasure sales, and countless others. Just look at what was accomplished in the lower part of the building. We banded together when our neighbors in East Palestine needed our help. We supported missions in the Youngstown Warren areas throughout the years. We assisted in serving dinners in Salem and Lisbon. In the past, we have shared our building with other groups. How many remember the Montessori preschool that was held for a few years in what is now our conference room? For many years, we've provided space for voting precincts, meeting place for home, historical society, and other organizations. Throughout the years, our prayers and our mission dollars have often supported missionaries such as Sue and Patrick Schmidt and others. The love that you have shown for your church family and others is remarkable. This is a close-knit, caring congregation. While many of these ministries are no longer in existence, the passion this congregation has is still here, maybe even stronger than before. We've been blessed for many years in having the ability to share our ministries with our friends and neighbors and others, and we hope to continue these ministries. However, we need to look at funding them differently. The compassion and love that has been shared through the years at this church is the foundation of our vision. We all are part of a loving church family. This church is one of the most recognized churches in the area. We invested in downstairs part of the building, and people appreciate the new look. Many times when new people walk into the sanctuary, they pleasantly comment about it. How many times have we seen Pastor Fritz in the news regarding his involvement in area concerns? We've made a great impact in this area, and the people know. But think about the impact you could have on someone you have never met. We are familiar with our outside mission work, but we personally know those that we have helped by name. We understand how important it is to share God's love for those inside this building that show up each week for church. But what about the ones that only stop once a week once a month for those that have never entered our building. Isn't it equally important that we share Christ's love with them also? What if we could formalize a plan that would accomplish this? But of course, how do we do that and what would it look like? Now, just for a minute, envision this. What if we could provide a place for lunchtime meals for seniors, or perhaps a safe place to go for counseling? What about a place for home health care workers or others that offers a quiet setting where they could relax and work on their end-of-day paperwork before they go home to their active families? A place that, for a small fee, would provide a bit of privacy, low-cost internet, and beverages and snacks. Or maybe low-cost office space for those seeking temporary office. Could Indigo hold more events here, or with the help of an outside agency, could we host seminars? Or in the future, and this is thinking big, what if we had the ability to provide low-cost or free transportation for seniors who need to get to much-needed appointments? Are these ways to share our compassion and Christ's love with others? Social enterprise is not new to churches. It's just a new name. Churches have been doing these things forever, haven't we? Remember renting space for meetings, dinners for the public, renting parking lot space, sharing the parking lot with our neighbors, renting fellowship hall for showers, parties, or other events, and then using those funds to pay for our ministries. Sound familiar? Some churches have weekly bingo games, annual beer and wine festivals, annual fairs and festivals. By the way, we're not talking about that.
No bingo.
No bingo. What could we do by better utilizing the building that would help us to continue the ministries of First Presbyterian Church Columbiana? These are a few of the good questions the Good Futures team asked themselves. These are the questions we are asking you. Can we reimagine our ministries and research how to fund them differently? How can we continue to share the love of Christ effectively with others through the use of this building? Can we better utilize this building by renting spaces to groups and individuals for their purpose and use those funds to help continue the ministries of this congregation? All while working together with groups and individuals that share our values, our missions, and our vision statement. Now please, let me emphasize this, just as Fritz did earlier. This is our building. It will remain our building. But what are the potentials if we could share some of the space of the building more often than we do now? Just like some of us have done in the past with our homes. Did any of you ever rent out parts of your home or your garage for others to use? Can we remodel? Can we repurpose? Can we move furniture? Can we adjust? Can we change? Can we reimagine new ways of funding our ministries? Our area is changing, so how do we react? 6 months of intense, disciplined, and difficult conversation, sometimes a few laughs, and what were the results? I've alluded to a few of them in earlier comments, so this is our vision. I'd like to start by just sharing what our mission statement was for our social enterprise. Our social enterprise provides space to assist the community and surrounding areas with meal services, socialization, and affordable rental space for the purpose of creating meaningful connections and improving the overall well-being and sustainability for the church. And this is our vision: an active community center with the initial focus on senior citizens, the ability to provide daily, affordable light meals for senior citizens and others, along with providing time to socialize, a community center for groups to use, space for individuals to rent that would include affordable internet access, light snacks, and beverages, a safe, comfortable environment. When we first met with Fritz, he said, dream big. So when we dream big, we hope to realize increased interaction with seniors and other communities, caring caring for the community by having a safe place for involvement and socialization, and sustainability for the church to help continue the ministries that we cherish. When we dream really big, transportation services for seniors. Dreaming big creates big questions. Questions the Good Futures team has already discussed. A few of these questions are, what will the startup and operating costs be? Who will run this thing? How do we reach the community? Who will be our partners that will share our ministry vision? Scheduling, taxes, insurance, licensing, building maintenance, security. How do we pay for it? Who do we reach out to, and will they help us? And of course, if we build it, will they come? Quite honestly, we don't know the answers to many of these questions, but with your help, we will work to answer them. This is the start of phase 2, researching the answers to all the questions. But before we move forward for a minute, let's look at the past, which we did with Fritz. I wasn't a church member in the early 60s, prior to the big remodel. I'm not sure we realized how big it was, but just talk to some of the people that were here during that remodel. From that pillar over, the second one, from what I understand, and that wall, none of that existed prior to the 60s. Below you was the gym. This was the full sanctuary, right, Chief? The entrance was the front door. And this is where the church was. For a couple of years, even when that part was built, it wasn't used. Just didn't have the money to finish it. It was a huge change. Perhaps we could ask some of those that were here back then, what were some of the questions and concerns that they had? I bet there were a lot of them. The difference is, back then they were growing. A lot of people were attending church. People stayed in the area. They wanted and needed to build bigger. Unfortunately, today, our situation is entirely different. So back to the day. Phase 1's complete. The Good Futures team has a vision and we are comfortable with it. We are ready to move forward. We have this building, we have a vision. Now it's time for stage 2, implementing the plan. I know you have concerns and questions, and we're going to try and answer a few of them today. But there will be more questions as we move forward, and we will seek the answers. The Good Futures team has concerns and questions. Fritz has them. I have them. A lot of them. And a lot of them are tough. So let me, for a minute, ask a few of my questions. I already know the answer to the first question. Will you pray for our future? But what about these ones? Will you please share your questions and concerns? Will you ask yourself, how can I help, and then offer to help? Will you be supportive? Will you share with us the names of people or groups that you think would help us? Will you be part of the team that seeks and gets answers for many of these questions? Will you be part of the action team that moves us into phase 3? Will you be part of the vision? Let me again repeat the vision statement. Our social enterprise provides space to assist the community and the surrounding area with meal services, socialization, and affordable rental space for the purpose of creating meaningful connections and improving the overall well-being and sustainability of the church. However, before we can move into phase 2, as a congregation, we need to ask these 2 important questions. Are we ready to reimagine our ministries, and will we accept the challenge and the changes that we need to make with Christ-like love? Thank you. Is there anybody else from the Good Futures team that wants to add? I really appreciate the effort that they put in. We were here a couple hours, 6, 7, 8 times after church, and it was a challenge, but I think we're ready to go forward. So, Thanks a lot.